everybody, and welcome to Firebase After Hours number 25. I am super excited to be here today, but I'm not alone. I have a couple of folks with me, but before I bring them on, let me just remind everybody, this is a public live stream on the internet, so let's be polite to each other. You can use the chat to talk to us, and we're currently figuring out how to let all of you use the chat. Currently, it's limited to people who have been with us for slightly longer than 5 minutes, but in a couple of minutes, you should be able to use the chat. But let's be polite and civil on the chat. If you have any questions, drop them in the chat. We'll try to answer them during the live stream. If there are any questions left that we either cannot answer or can't get to during the stream, we will answer them in the comments of the video, so under the video itself. The video is also recorded, so you can watch it after the stream has concluded. And with that out of the way, the topic for today is Firebase AI Logic and Apple's foundation models. It was announced at WWDC 2026, which was last week. And we've got this amazing integration now, and we've got guests to talk about this with us today. But first, let me bring in my favorite co-host. Here it is. Here he is. The co-hosty. Noe, how are you?
I'm doing well. As you can tell, I am not at home.
Oh, Route 66, where's that?
I believe that's now I-40 in the U.S., but I'm actually just in Sunnyvale hanging out at the office. My my internet provider decided I wasn't going to live stream from my home today, so here I am in the office live streaming. And no, I did not move into the office. So yeah, here we are. And I'm still trying to find the chat settings to turn it on for everybody. But,
okay, we'll figure it out. I see Ryan was able to post. I don't know if he has special rights or if he's among the people who are.
He subscribed.
Oh, he's a subscriber. Well, that's a reason for subscribing, right? If you subscribe, you can chat. All right, we'll figure it out. All right, let's bring in Ryan and Andrew, and here they are. Hey, guys.
Hey.
Hey, thanks for having us again.
So it's been a minute since we last had you on, and just before we went live, we had a look at that, and I think, Ryan, you said you were on last time in episode number 15.
Yes, back in August, which I think is about 9 years in AI time, as far as I can tell. At least I feel like I've aged 9 years since that last.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I agree. Things move so quickly, and it feels like, you turn around and 10 things happen at the same time. It's crazy.
It's impossible to keep up.
Yeah, amazing. Great to have you on. So for those of the people on the stream who don't know who you are, maybe you can introduce yourselves, and then we can start into the topic. So Ryan, why don't you start?
Yeah. Hey, folks. I'm Ryan, engineering manager on Firebase AI Logic. My background is in Apple development, and I've gone to other platforms as well. But yeah, I'm based in Waterloo, and I'm just happy to be here. I'll pass it off to Andrew.
Yeah, so I'm Andrew. I'm a software developer on the Firebase AI Logic team under Ryan. Yeah. Happy to be here. Really excited about foundation models integration, and yeah.
Nice. And I think you've been in the Apple ecosystem for a long time, right? I mean, I remember talking with you about Objective-C and all that stuff. So how long? What is your when did you start, and what was your first kind of memory of an app that you built or an API that you used?
So it sort of started it was maybe first year university or the last year of high school. I made an audio converter app. It was completely terrible at the time. It was just freeware. Back then, I didn't even know about threading, and so the UI would hang when it would convert. Yeah, that got me into the whole ecosystem, and then they got more into it when the Mac App Store launched, and then that was like back in 2011, and then I was an intern in 2013 in Cupertino, so
ooh,
that was fun too.
You actually interned at the fruit company?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
All right, we're not gonna drill deeper because I know that they have NDAs, so don't want to put you on the spot.
Yeah.
Ryan, how about you?
Sorry, I was going to say, it bothers me that a long time back in talking about Objective-C, it's like, that was not that long ago, was it?
It has been, to be honest. I mean, like, I remember, starting with Objective-C and having to do memory management, and that was a long time ago.
Yeah.
It was, yeah. So my first app that I built was on iOS 4, which exact same thing. It was pre-Arc days, doing those manual retain release, and Arc came along in iOS 5, which was delightful. I learned from like lynda.com. Was how, not a sponsor. I feel like you have to say that. That's how I learned originally, way back in the day. And I've just been like in the Apple ecosystem ever since. And the development side, I'm an Apple user, and yeah.
Nice. So Apple Foundation models and Firebase AI Logic. Why is this such a big deal, Ryan?
It's a great question. Last year, Apple introduced Apple Foundation models, which lets you use on-device APIs to use the on-device models. And Apple came up with a really nice API surface to interact with the models, really focused on application development and taking advantage of a lot of Swift's features and the strongly typed nature as well, with like structured output and whatnot. And on-device model has limitations. There's some things it's good for, other things it's not good for. Like one of the things is like a roughly 4,000 token context limit, and there's latency and some tooling is not available. And so this year at WWDC, Apple announced a new API that the on-device models conform to the same API, and it enables you to bring your own model provider, essentially. And so, it's essentially an inference API that anyone can implement. And we implemented this to let you call Gemini models using the same API surface as the on-device foundation models. And so this is really nice because you can do a couple things with that. It really makes swapping in a new model provider like 2 lines of code, roughly, plus or minus a little bit of a couple import statements and whatnot. I think even with import statements and like proper configuration, I was able to do it in 10 lines of code, or like migrate from foundation models to using Gemini. And really, it's just an easy way to get started. It makes it a lot more accessible for folks of not having to learn different API surfaces if they have different model providers. And it's really just a great way to use AI in an application and take advantage of that model inference.
So, and could you basically swap this out and say, okay, I want to use a completely different model or even model provider, for example. Could you just say, okay, I don't like Gemini all that much. I want to use Anthropic, for example?
Whoa. Don't like Gemini much.
I say all that much.
Yeah.
For whatever reason. I mean, like,
theoretically.
Or vice versa, right?
We're talking theoretically here. So as long as they provide the same support, which I know they announced that they support as well, you could do that. So you don't need to worry as much about vendor lock-in, that kind of thing. And you could imagine a situation where you would want to have both integrated, of like maybe you like the way that one model handles specific tasks and a different model handles other tasks. You can integrate them with like very minimal code changes, which is really nice.
Yeah.
Is there like a limitation on which providers are supported, or could I just build my own package when I spin up my data center out of my living room when the internet comes back online there?
Yeah.
Yeah, you can. You can bring your own. It's a public protocol that you can implement, and I believe Apple has a sample for like the chat completions API for just like any service that provides the chat completions API. And so like there's a reference implementation as well. So if you're self-hosting Gemma or other on-device models, or sorry, other like locally hosted models, you can do that too.
Cool.
Yeah, that is pretty wild to be able to address other locally hosted models as well, right? So you could technically download a model into your application and then say, okay, I give the user the option to choose which model they want to use, right?
Yeah, I think I haven't tried it, but with their new Core AI integration, I think you'll be able to do that.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Very cool. Okay, so let's look at some code and see how it actually works. Andrew,
Sure.
I think you prepared something. I'm going to bring up your screen.
Okay.
And actually, let me...
I guess I need to share here.
Yeah, you need to share.
Okay, that'd help. Entire screen. Pick the right screen. Okay.
Perfect.
So Apple made this really nice. It's on their Swift tutorials page. It walks you through sort of all the really nice features of foundation models. They launched it last year, like before all the new stuff came out. But it explains some of the things that I really got excited about foundation models. And one of these is that when you annotate a type, so I guess stepping back, instead of having to set up JSON schemas and all that, you just annotate your Swift types with generable and guide to provide additional constraints. And so once you've done this, then you don't have to think about the JSON schema under the hood. And but what's really cool is when you want to show this in a UI, you either previously would need to just wait, load, and then show it all at once, or you'd have to manually parse the JSON as it streams in. But they handle all of that for you. And so in the after you've annotated a type with the macro, there will be this subtype partially generated where all the fields are nullable. So when you design your UI, so this would be like this one's in quiz view. You do need to handle like whether the I haven't found the right spot, but it's in here. They walk you through it. And so you just need to handle as things stream in. But now what we can do is, so last year, this didn't exist. There was no, or sorry, it existed, but the only thing you could put into it was system language model. So that's the on-device model. But this year you can put pretty much any language model. So this here, if I open it up, will just take a protocol. Oh, it's kind of enormous, so you can't see it, and it's picking the wrong overload right now, but it does let you put in anything. Okay, so let's see if we can. So I've already added Firebase to this app, and so then you just we'll get an instance of Firebase AI Logic, and I'm going to use the backend for Vertex AI, and because we have that set up here, and I'm going to set the location to global, because most of the new Gemini 3 models are available on the global backend. And then we can just, oh, sorry, I forgot to actually, now instead of, we'll use a Gemini language model. And I'll do Gemini 3.5.flash. Hopefully I typed that correctly. And moment of truth. Well, oh, I already had it right in here, so we'll make sure it still compiles. Okay, and building. Okay, and then, well, I already had this set up with the on-device model, so you can see it will generate a quiz. But I'll show you the one with Gemini here. Hopefully, I've set everything up here. And I think I can zoom in on this.
And that's actually running on your physical device, right?
Yeah.
You see in the new device hub.
Yeah. This way I can run both the on-device model and the and our model, because the on-device one it does work on macOS 26, which I'm running here, but you can't use, you need your simulator and Xcode version to match the one from your operating system. So it was just easier to use my physical device. And so I guess I'll try picking like farm animals here for a quiz. It's going to reach out to Gemini, and we'll see if it. There's a little bit of latency because it's doing thinking, and so it generates a quiz. And let's see.
We should take the quiz.
Yeah.
Noe's got to do the quiz.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let's. I think it's a U, right?
I think so. So is that your final answer?
Yeah. Let's go with U.
Okay. Okay.
Nice.
Yep.
Nice.
Oh, I like this device hub thing. Being able to.
That's a cow.
Okay. Yeah.
What is the average gestation period of this? Oh gosh, I don't know.
Oh, isn't it similar to humans or something?
But yeah, sure. Let's 9 months, right?
3 months, 3 weeks, and 3 days. That's oddly specific.
Yeah. Oh.
Oh no.
Oh. I think it's.
Maybe it is.
For cows.
Oh, but what about pigs though?
I'm trying to remember. There's this like TV show that I watch where they have like they raise pigs.
Andrew, can you pick one of the other options, or you have to go to and do the reset button, right?
I think there's a reset button.
I think
because now I'm really curious. Let's do 5 months.
Okay, let's try it. Oh.
Oh, that's wrong too.
Is it 11
I think it's
months?
11. I think it's 11.
It would be hilarious if it's 3 months.
Oh,
is it?
No.
No way.
What happens if you have 3 pigs?
They really wanted the
down to
average to be accurate there. So this is where you can use Apple's new evaluations framework to enhance your prompt to tune for these kinds of things.
Andrew, you're sounding like you're going full into pitch mode.
And I haven't tried it, but apparently you can use it with any model. So I think you'll be able to use it with ours. So excited to try that out. And
last one.
This one,
what is it?
yeah, it's gotta be
porcine.
How do you say that?
So.
Porcine?
Porcine? I don't.
Porcine, right? Because porcine.
Oh, I don't know.
See, yet another reason for me to build that language learning app. That so that I can pronounce all those words that are specialized knowledge.
Yeah, it works for English native speakers too.
Apparently.
This is using Flash 3.5. We can also try 3.1 Flash Lite. Works pretty well usually too. So we can see if how that works.
So Flashlight is the one that's really, really fast, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, whenever you have things you're doing in your application, really should evaluate like what what model is necessary, and use like there's trade-offs for each one, where the latency, world knowledge, also like the thinking level too. Oh wow, that was a lot faster.
Yeah.
I think I blinked and I missed that one.
It'd be a falcon, right? Because a falcon is the only raptor listed there, right?
Yeah.
I feel like I'm all in on like the turn this into a Noe game show.
Yeah, whatever we do on the stream, it must include a quiz.
Is there a way I can control your computer from my computer so that way I just get through this quiz while we're
But so maybe that doesn't work. But Andrew, I think, and this is one of the things that I find really amazing about the Device Hub. You're remotely controlling your physical phone that's sitting on your desk, and you can either tap on the phone itself or you can do that from the Device Hub, right?
Yeah. This is so much more convenient than before, because pretty much that's why I always use the simulator, just because I was too lazy to unlock my phone, and you gotta like Face ID to get it the right way. And
I found out earlier today that if your phone is locked and you control it via the Device Hub, you can even unlock it from the Device Hub. So you'll just swipe up on the Device Hub, and then it doesn't show you the numpad, right? So you'll have to know that now you need to type in your key code, and then you can type the key code on the keyboard of your computer, and it will unlock your phone. Yeah.
I just feel like you need a server rack of devices now.
Yep.
Does it show your button presses when you're doing that?
No. For security reasons, it doesn't.
That's perfect.
It doesn't do that. Yeah.
Okay.
One complaint I do have about this is Flashlight seems to give us like way easier answers to our questions, right?
Yeah, I've noticed it's quite a bit different. And so this is not a fault of Apple's model here, but I think on our corp computers, for some reason, it runs really slow. So bear with me. I'll generate one here, but it's this one actually produces even shorter results too. So it's almost like the bigger the model, we should try Pro and see what it comes up with.
I'm wondering, like, that's something we can adjust with system instructions.
Yes.
Too, right?
Definitely.
Let's turn it on hard mode. Like, give me a absurdly difficult quiz.
I'm running on my
lots
phone,
of gotchas.
so it's okay. It runs fast on my phone. So
that was pretty quick too.
Yeah.
Which of the following is a character of modern reptiles? Aren't 2 of those 4 definitely true?
Cold-blooded and lay eggs?
Lay eggs, yeah.
Yeah. What do you want to pick?
Let's choose cold-blooded, because I'm not sure if all reptiles lay eggs.
Okay.
What is a modern reptile, though?
Oh, hold on.
So there's it allows multiple.
What about the 3-chambered heart? Is that?
No. So this one's a trick question where 2 are right.
I guess that's better than 0, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, this is potentially a good example of world knowledge where you might want a bigger model.
Yeah. There was one entertaining one where it was like, which of the following types of animals are reptiles, and one of the options was reptiles. So that's a one
technically
kind of thing
correct.
you get with LLMs. Yeah,
that's kind of correct.
Yeah, but I hope snakes don't have wings.
That would be very scary
also
indeed.
Feels like
they have 2, right?
Yeah. So
but the long flexible bodies, that's not necessarily modern, right? I guess it is.
But this one is not about modern reptiles. It's just
snakes.
about snakes in general.
But it's a type of modern reptile. Oh, I see. Yeah.
I feel like this is a good example of like under-specifying a prompt of like, create a quiz, but you didn't say only one answer should be right.
What about artisanal classical reptiles?
How about the quiz should be as difficult
as possible.
as possible. I don't know.
We need some Gemini for this one.
Yeah. Okay. Let's try Gemini, or let's try Pro. It'll be a little slower, but it'll probably. So I think that one's like, is it?
It's 3.1 Pro, right?
Pro preview.
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah.
Okay. I'll.
I wonder if it'll give it to us in like Latin
But
or something.
we can do that.
Yeah.
We could make it German, and then only Peter.
Oh yeah. I'll have an advantage because I'll be honest. I know none of these words, and I would pretty much have to guess.
Ich spreche, aber verstehen nicht.
Yeah, ganz genau. Okay, so yeah, it really does take a bit longer.
Yeah.
Pro really has to think about it.
It is a big model.
Yeah.
If we wanted to as well, like you could have UI showing the thinking. Like, if you go to like the Gemini app, you could have, some like highlights of it showing the thoughts kind of thing. That is something you could build out where the stream response does feed those thoughts through in the API surface. Oh, here we go.
Wow.
Yeah. We'll all be guessing about these ones, Peter.
Why did they all do Latin here? I could tell you if I saw the names, but
well, I mean, I know the answer, but just to ask, do you know the answer? And you can maybe guess.
I obviously know the answer, but for
let me try to pronounce one of them. So I'm gonna go with the Milano Citrus Johnsoni.
Which one is that?
The second one. See?
I feel like the first one is like so if you break down the Latin, right? The crypto part of it is like an unknown thing, right? And then the last part, the kusai, kind of looks like counsel, which I assume means like a hidden lawyer.
Is this like cryptographically secure questions? So let's try it. Yeah. Wow.
It's the hidden lawyer. What?
Oh, that is amazing.
Oh man.
Okay, so this is pretty cool. So minus all the fun that we're having with the quiz. So let me summarize. The two changes that we had to make was to instantiate the Firebase model right there in line 17. And then, there's more?
Oh, I just had to add Firebase to the app.
Okay, so add Firebase to the app. So can you show that
sure,
really quick?
Yeah. Now that I am on the spot, there we go. Okay, so I set up app check because maybe I want to deploy this to production right now. So we're using Attest, going full on ready, and then configuring Firebase. Before this, so I did need to add in a package dependency on Firebase. If you want to try this out, you don't have to wait at all. You can use the wwdc-preview branch. There's more information in our docs too on how to set that up. But eventually it'll be just the regular package installation. And then other than that, I just instantiated Firebase AI Logic here with this particular backend. If you were using the Gemini developer API, it would just be like that. And then instantiated a Gemini language model. And otherwise, you just sub in whatever model you want into language model sessions, Apple's type. So they let you pass in whatever now. And
and if I wanted to secure my request to the Firebase AI Logic backend, like what options are available for me? So this came up in a recent YouTube comment on one of my videos, and I feel like I could go straight to the source and ask right here.
So app check for sure is the there's actually several different things that you can do for security, but so definitely add app check. This one I'm in particular using Attest. This will only work on a physical device. It did get added to macOS 27 this year, so that'll be nice too. And then during development, what you can use the debug provider. So if I were to go,
is there also something called like device check?
Yes, you can also use device check. And so there's device check, Attest for production. And then for development, you can use the debug provider, which is you can think of it like bypassing the attestation. So you have a token that you provide, just it's not something you ship, just for your during development, and you can use it in a simulator. And by default, if you don't set anything at all, it'll in a simulator now it will use the debug provider by default, and on device it will use device check like always. But you can configure it however you want. So start with the app check. That's an important one.
And then just to clarify, what specifically does app check do other than like I add it to my app and then some magic happens?
Yeah. So in all cases, what it under the hood, so it's attesting using Apple's attestation services, either Attest or device check, or you can have custom ones as well, but those will be the and we're adding reCAPTCHA support as well. I'll let Ryan get into that if he wants to talk more about that. But it is asserting that it's actually my app making this call, and each provider does it in a different way. And then so when I'm using Attest, I'm doing an exchange with Apple to get an attestation token, and then I am exchanging this with the AppCheck servers. All this is happening for you because it's a pain to write it all yourself and set up a backend. And then that gives you a token that gets passed along with your request to Firebase AI Logic. And then without that, the request would just be rejected. If you have AppCheck enforced on your project. And what's great about AppCheck is it abstracts away all these different providers. So if on Android you've got different ones, on iOS you've got different ones, on web as well, and your backend, and especially if you're writing your own backend, it's nice to only have to deal with one type of token. But this way it will block attempts from not you, so that you aren't paying for someone else's LLM inference. So yes, that's why this is how you can get away with your app containing your API key. So
I have a question about that. So does the app actually contain the API key that you're using to call Gemini?
Oh, sorry, not to call Gemini, but to call Firebase.
Okay.
So there's a server that we run that checks if you have an app check token and that it's actually from your app, and if it's not, says bye. reject. So
I feel like
very technical there.
I feel like we need a big drop-down banner that said Firebase API key, okay.
Yeah.
Gemini API key, thumbs down.
Almost everything else, no.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So
okay, so that sounds a little bit like Firebase AI Logic is kind of like a proxy server of sorts, where you make calls from your client application. They go to the proxy server, and then the proxy server takes the correct API key so that Gemini knows which project it's coming from, and then it makes the call to Gemini and sends a response back to your mobile application, right? Is that mostly correct, or am I completely misrepresenting this?
That sounds exactly right to me.
And then, sorry, just to join in, there's other security things as well?
Yeah. So
we can also pause my thing until you finish answering Peter's question.
Yeah.
And then when you start talking again, I'll just interrupt you one more time just because.
All I was going to say.
So just to clarify, no, I'm kidding.
I was going to say you could build that yourself, but as an iOS developer, I don't really want to. I just want to build stuff in my app, and so it's nice to have it taken care of for me. So there's that. So definitely do that. Other things you can do. They're actually pretty recent. There's a mode where it will only accept requests from authenticated users. So if you're using Firebase Auth in your app, and you can use these together. You should use, or you shouldn't, or you should always rely on AppCheck, and in addition, these are add-ons. But this way, it will only accept requests that have a valid Firebase auth user signed in. And especially when you're limited to things like sign in with Apple or Google sign in from providers you trust like that, it can be quite a big blocker, because anybody that wants to do that at scale it's annoying to make like Gmail accounts over and over, and Google won't let you. It's the same. I'm assuming Apple's the exact same way. I haven't ever tried. I only have my one account, but it's the same
probably
idea.
even harder, right? I mean,
Yeah.
like, how would you create a new account on Apple's servers? I mean, like, I think I made another test account for one of my test devices, but it was definitely quite the operation to make it happen, because I think they always ask you, hey, do you have a phone number that we can connect to that? And then obviously, I don't want to use the same phone number that I use for my main account.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and Google does the same thing with the phone numbers. So if you use a provider like that, that can offer a lot of additional or like a big barrier as well. Another one is server prompt templates. So it's security in a different way, in that if your template says this template only works with Gemini 3.1 flashlight, and it has a specific system instruction, it makes it's probably a lot of API abusers would be probably interested in it for tasks like code generation, and you're going to severely make that not interesting to them if that's all you can do is use those specific models and instructions you've set, because there's a mode where you can say template only. We haven't integrated that stuff in, or that feature in with this yet, but the others you can. So
I mean, I for one would want to generate millions of friendly cat names.
Yeah. So don't just rely on that, because you might have Brian out there. So still use AppCheck.
Okay,
Yeah.
so we've got abject to secure the connection between your app and the backend, and to prove, okay, so this can only come from Andrew's legitimate app running on an unjailbroken device. Then we enable authentication to say, okay, it only works if the user who's trying to make the call from that untempered device using Android's legitimate app, they also need to be signed in. Then we use server prompt templates to limit the kind of prompts that the application can execute to, those predefined things, and the application only sends certain values from the app to the server, who then fills it into the template and sends that off to Gemini. So you'd have to be pretty creative to break out of that and to prompt engineer your way out of a prompt template, I think. And I think there was one more thing, right? So didn't abject also have a one-time token support?
Has it launched yet?
There's limited use tokens.
Yeah.
That's what I meant.
Yeah, there's a shorter window. Says like, how long is this token valid for?
Yeah.
And there's a trade-off of latency and sort of usability there. That's also a way you can essentially say, hey, when you do use AppCheck, how long is that token good for?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So when you set up AppCheck, you can decide how long you want those tokens to last for.
No. Oh, wait. You are
in the
never mind.
console.
Sorry. Yeah. So that's for like the long-lived tokens. Right?
Yes, for the long-lived ones. Yeah. And if you're latency sensitive, those tokens will keep getting reused. So say you pick an hour, it will, for an hour, it refreshes, I think, about at the 30-minute mark, but you won't have to worry about the additional latency of talking to Apple's server and back. Then with limited use ones, they have a strict 5-minute time window, and those are sort of in preparation for a new feature, replay protection. It's currently in beta for custom backends. Correct me if I'm wrong, Noe. I think you might.
I think
have
it actually might be live. I don't know.
Oh, okay.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, it's definitely on our radar. I think it's coming soon. And so what that will do is, if a token has been used, you can never use it again. So even if somebody had a farm of phones making or using your app to make quizzes and then to get tokens, you wouldn't. They wouldn't be able to, or they'd get consumed, and it would not really. It wouldn't benefit them. So.
There's a great question in chat that I just want to call out. Is Foundation Models Framework enough to handle all Gemini use cases, or are there specific scenarios where falling back to the official SDK is still required? Yeah, so using the live API is the biggest one right now, and server prompt templates, like Andrew mentioned. So those are features that are only available right now using the current public API surface. And it's something we look at of how we can incorporate these features there. Apple's building a generalized solution for model inference, and there are a lot of great Gemini features or specific models that might need their own API surface. And we're always looking to improve those APIs and bring them as close together as possible. But those are two things that are available only right now in the current public API surface.
And,
yeah, I was about to ask. So I mean, I remember that in last year's version of Apple Foundation Models, it was not possible, for example, to send anything other than a string as a prompt to the model. And I believe that this year you can send multimodal prompts, right? And yeah, I was wondering how they achieved that. Maybe this is a time to nerd out a little bit about API design. So Can you talk a little bit about how that is possible? Even, I mean, like it sounds like you can pretty much send anything you want, but I might be wrong about that.
Yeah, they actually have a pretty good dark. I'll grab it on multimodal prompting. Our docs also have a nice snippet that we for.
Oh yeah, maybe we can also show our documentation.
Yeah,
because I think there is a really nice page that has almost complete support for all of the things that we cover, right? Maybe while you look that, okay. Do you have the Apple documentation at the ready?
Not quite yet.
Okay, I can share my screen and then I can show the our documentation.
And while we wait for that, let's get another quiz going.
Oh, sorry. I didn't realize I was still screen sharing. So here you I'll just try to make it a bit bigger. I think maybe our doc shows the I'd have to check, but I think we might be showing Nano Banana, so it's actually image out that we might be showing, but maybe we are showing both.
I think we should show both.
Yeah, okay.
I'm pulling up the docs right now.
Okay, but our API will be the same here, where just you'll be putting our model in here if you're using ours, and you add attachments with images. And yeah, if I recall correctly, it was extensible enough that I haven't tried it, but to be able to send in things like audio.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, I saw somebody send in a video, so that seems to work.
Okay. Yeah. Perfect. I'll let you.
Yeah, I can share our documentation right here. So this is the page in our documentation, and let me make that a bit bigger.
Well, thank you.
So if you go to Firebase AI Logic, and then there is a new section, Access Gemini API via Apple's Foundation Models Framework, and then it has a Getting Started part where it walks you through which models we support, how to create your Firebase project, connect the app, imports, enable services. So this is all the preliminary stuff. Set up app check, very important as we learned. And then here's how to initialize Firebase AI Logic and then send a request, right? So here we've got the initialization of the framework. Here we instantiate the model, and here we put it into the model. Talks about streaming, and then for further capabilities, you can go to the capabilities part where it talks all about, hey, how do you generate text? How do you generate, how does chat work, which is also pretty interesting for many apps. And then the multimodal prompting, and as Andrew showed, here we get the image, and then here we have the respond method where it passes in a text and the attachment. So I would be interested to talk about, like, how is this possible here, right? So we've got this method called respond, and then we've got the curly braces here, and inside the curly braces there is a string, and there is this attachment. There is no comma here. There is no nothing. So what is this kind of magic?
This is a result builder in Swift. You should be able to pass it in using the other style as well, but you'll have to instantiate a prompt object in Apple's an Apple prompt object. Yeah, the result builder is pretty convenient when you have multiple things like this that you want to shove in. You could even have another question, or you could say, this is an image of blah, and then have the image, and then another piece of text, and then another image, so it's easy to compose them like that. It provides a really nice shorthand. So you can actually do this with instructions and everything too. But your system instructions that you pass in, not just prompts. So that's quite nice as well. Let me
Do we
see if
do we have an example for
give me
that
a
as
second
well?
to quickly generate something here.
Oh, system instruction set somewhere else here. Yeah. I'll switch back to your screen.
Okay.
Oh, it's not shared.
Share. Make sure it's... So here I'm doing a stream response, and so or we can actually look at the overloads here if you're interested. So the one we did before was using 2 and with the passing in the prompt, and then actually we were using the one that has generating in it. It's
yeah, because we're doing structure generation.
It's down here. Okay. But you can also do, they have a lot of overloads. So this one would be like generating the prompt. So let's try doing the equivalent here. So we'll, I'll have to do like this because I should, oops. Generating quiz dot self, and then here you could actually this is now in a prompt rather than a because I deleted the, or let me just I should have grabbed the text here. Oh, it was actually, I think, so defined in a variable named prompt, if I recall correctly. So for this particular, I thought it was topic. I'd have to look at the original code.
Yeah.
But yeah, for this particular one, it wouldn't be very useful. But you probably the other syntax would be nicer for this one. But if you're just, you could be like, the topic is the Swift programming language. And we can maybe we can see if we can pass that test. I don't know.
He's like,
with
hit
Pro
run, hit run.
Yeah.
I just want to see the output. I don't know Swift, so.
Oh, okay. Well, what's your preferred language? We can
English.
I would fail that. It'd be like Shakespeare and all that. Yeah.
Probably I could probably do Go, maybe.
Okay.
I think one thing to talk about. Oh wow, that's a nice right there.
That's
Google search terms.
That's like Apple's autocomplete. But other things, you can actually shove in generable types, or as in instances of them, into here. So
into the prompt builder, you mean?
Yeah. So I'm pretty sure you can, at least.
So you could potentially pass in previous quizzes to be like, here's some that I would like you to do in kind of like a end shot type thing there. That'd be interesting.
Interesting. Yeah, I mean, the general macro, that's not just for the output you want to receive, but also for, here's some stuff that I want to pass into the model, right?
Yeah. So let's see if I'm correct here. I'm pretty sure that was the case. Looks like it's building. So yeah, okay. I think all of these are now going to be hard coded to go. So we'll marine life.
Hold on,
yeah.
this we're not. I'm not re-interviewing right now, am I?
Yeah, you are. Yeah.
This is a ruse.
Oh
Let's see
boy.
how it goes.
Oh,
I
and
think
it's also going in hard mode, apparently.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I forgot to turn that off. So,
Well,
yeah.
while we're waiting for this, it's a good time to bring up. We're hard coding prompts right now. We're hard coding model names. Before you go to production, like these models take a lot to host, and newer models that are more capable, that are faster, come out all the time. And so using remote config to keep track of model names, so you can update them as the models get deprecated on the servers, newer models come out, and maybe the current version of Gemini Flash is not strong enough, but Pro is. But maybe if there's a next generation of Flash that might be as good as the current version of Pro, then you'd want to migrate to that version. And so using remote config for that name, and then also for the prompt, if you want to do some fine tuning for like prompt for evals, as Andrew was setting up earlier, then existing versions of your deployed application can use those newer prompts and those new model names, and the application doesn't break.
And that's even useful whether you're using Apple's model or Gemini, because they also release new models sometimes with new OS versions. So.
I know.
So, does anybody have Rob Pike's phone number? So my first guess is it's going to be at least 4.
Is that your final?
Yeah, let's see if I pass my interview.
I'm gonna go with 8.
Okay, so we'll start with Noe's.
My gut was 16, but
oh,
yeah, okay.
So 8 though, or
slightly larger.
Okay. Oh.
Oh, there you go.
But then 16 should also be true, right?
Let's see what it said. Would exceed the optimal cache line. Come on, Noe.
Wow, it is really optimized for the CPU.
I don't even know what version of Go is on, or what it's on. It's
1.26.
Okay.
1.18 is a little old, I think.
Okay, you should know this then.
Let's do the 25%. That seems like a logical thing.
Actually, this is sort of a great segue as well. Say for newer, you said goes on 1.26 right now, right? These models don't know about Go 1.26 because they were trained up until January 2025. And so
what can we do?
We can use a couple different tools. You can use Google Search grounding as a tool that will help use Google Search, if you've heard of it. I imagine you might have. So, to ground your results. And it's important to show the citations for how it, and we have guides for rules you need to follow for if you're using Google Search grounding. Another one is URL context too. And so you can pass in a specific URL. So if you know, hey, here's the release notes for the Go language, here's like the URL for it, you can pass that in as a URL, and Gemini will look at that as it's getting the results. And so you can then, feed it more information than what it was originally trained on.
Oh, so you would do that on line 17-ish, probably, where you set up the model?
Could we just violate the terms of service and show it how that works, and then just not attribute it?
I've never violated the terms of service for anything.
Oh, well, you could. So we'll run the code, and then Ryan, you could be our attributor, and you could say, this information is brought to you from this source over here.
The sequences you see in this video are dangerous and by trained professionals. Do not try it.
I think I will need to look into this implementation.
We got to read the docs.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to read the docs, unless you remember, Ryan.
I mean, maybe just for a reminder.
Oh, okay. I think
folks at
maybe
home.
I was thinking of a different type there. But
Yeah, for a reminder, folks from home, this came out 10 days ago.
Yeah.
This was from 10 days ago, and so the APIs are still very hot off the press.
Yeah.
And you know, as Apple betas go, the APIs might change, and so you know we're going to try our best not to break things, but we reserve the right to, because you know as we get feedback from the community on you know what's easy to do, what's hard to do. Things that are intuitive or not intuitive. You know, we want to hear feedback. So you actually can kind of see, based on that code completion, there's a bunch of different server tools that are unique to Gemini that you could use as part of your inference.
Can we do something about, can we make the quiz about Swift? And you know, let's do it about Swift. Should we try asking about Swift 7, which doesn't exist? Would that throw the model off, or you know, because we use a Google search, would it say, "I'm sorry, Dave, but I can't do that"?
Could we also add in thought signatures somewhere, like to like debug logs, so that way we could see like what the model's thinking as well?
Let's do it one step at a time.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah. Sorry. Well, because if it starts like throwing up questions, maybe like
no, you need to remember, you know, Ryan. Andrew is a SWE and not an LLM.
Hold on, I didn't tell Andrew that my grandma was going to die if he didn't do this. Right?
make no mistake.
I have an idea what we could do. As another way, let me just as a quick way of we could say something like, if the question, or if we can give it another way is you can give it a spot where it can provide details about the
like grounding chunk, are you thinking?
No, I was just thinking if in what you're generating you provide a spot for it to provide additional prose, it may be able to explain why that's a bad question. Like maybe if we do like gotchas or something, I don't know.
Yeah.
And then I can be.
Or what if it's like question generation explanation?
Yeah.
Some concise like that.
I think it's like if we want to see the thoughts, we can loop through and print them as they're coming through. I think potentially as like the naive way of doing things to start.
I think it's not wired up correctly. That's why I'm avoiding.
Fair enough. Revisiting the 10-day thing.
Yes. So provide details about how the questions were generated and any limitations. So let me just go back here to the generator, and then the topic is the Swift, or is version 7 of the Swift programming language.
Which, for folks who are just tuning in right now, does not exist.
Yes.
I mean, I think we could also do like WWDC 2026. Or Google I/O 2026.
True.
Like,
that would be more realistic. Yeah, maybe. Okay, let's try this just for laughs. And then I think I like Ryan's suggestion, asking the model about the releases of WWDC 2026, which is not in the training set, but if we provide Google search grounding, it should be able to find the answers.
Yeah. So a reminder that they're all hard-coded to...
and as difficult as possible.
Yeah.
Are we printing those?
Oh, crap.
We're not.
I'll just print.
So maybe we should remove the as difficult as possible, and also switch back to 3.1 flashlight.
Yeah.
I see how this is. Give Noe the hard questions.
Yeah, that was exactly.
He's got tighten that iteration loop.
Yeah. And another thing you can do is in your stream, if you just want to show what it was at the end, I think it's stream.collect. So you can be like, let response equal, and this will be, this will be the whole thing, not the partially generated ones. And then we can just print the content dot this one. So otherwise it'll keep updating as it, we could put it in the UI somewhere, but I don't want to do that on the spot. So we'll see how it goes here. Okay. Yeah. I wonder if I should have said Swift 7 instead of version 7.
We'll see.
Yeah. Oh, let's see what it.
Oh, I think they might have had like a vision.
Oh, and
for
projections.
Oh.
Yeah.
Always a people pleaser.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
I hope it's not automated garbage collection. Yeah.
Okay. So maybe we should.
Let's do that. I don't think they'll go to this.
It's Rust style.
Yeah. Should we ask it to generate a quiz about WWDC 2026 then?
Yeah. Anything in particular, or just
maybe the announcements?
Yeah.
The latest news.
Sure. Oops, 2026. Okay.
Yeah, this is really fun. I think we should use this as a sample app. I think, people would have a ball with it.
Yeah.
We should just run a live stream later and just do questions.
I was going to say, how do we get Noe to do work?
And kudos to whoever at Apple wrote it. Oh, did I type it wrong? Maybe, let's see. Glow 3.1 flashlight.
You just changed the prompt, right? Didn't you?
Yeah.
Did you run out of quota, maybe?
Let me see. Ryan set up the project, so I don't know.
Don't throw me under the bus.
Yeah.
Oh,
There we go.
Yeah.
Okay.
Here we go.
Nice.
So these are things that the Gemini without Google search grounding or the on-device models could not know about.
Yeah, they would not know Golden Gate.
Yeah.
iAssistant.
macOS Silicon.
iAssistant, yeah. That's
definitely.
fantastic. Siri AI.
Siri Pro?
No, Siri AI.
Oh.
Siri AI.
Okay. Oh,
Definitely PowerPC.
Yeah. Oh, I'll show you. I want to show you something just before I forget.
I'm so worried.
You were asking how I got into Macs, and
nice.
this is my beautiful PowerPC G4 Mac Mini. It's still
What? I did not know they made Mac Minis with a PowerPC.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. It's gone yellow a bit, but on the top. But yeah, it still boots up.
Nice.
It's.
Can you run OpenClaw on it?
Maybe with like some Linux distro, I don't know.
That's the next after hours.
Yeah.
Andrew gets OpenClaw set up on his G4 Mac Mini.
That would
I
be
wanted
fun.
to call Gemini from it, but the network APIs are so out of date from back then. It's pretty painful.
Yeah. I mean, it should be possible.
Yeah.
You could ask Gemini to write the code for it.
Yeah.
Hilarious.
But here we go. Okay.
Nice.
I like that one.
Oh yeah, the transparency slider. So, question for you all: which position do you have on the slider?
All the way to the least transparent.
All the way to the left. I'm in middle position.
Or sorry, the most opaque.
Okay, that's on the right.
That's
Yeah.
the right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is this only on iPhones?
Yep. It
Yeah.
is.
Oh, I was gonna say I'm not part of that club.
Oh,
That's also
Sorry.
you gotta do both.
Yeah.
Oh.
Let's.
I think I'm like fine in the middle. I think I heard an interesting thing of someone wanted like a different value for dark mode versus light mode. I thought that'd be interesting.
Oh, feature request right there. Also, just a couple of days before WWDC, somebody shipped an open source app that shows you all the data that you can use to fingerprint your device. For example, your IP address, your geolocation, all of that stuff. And as one of the really scary bits of information that you can use for fingerprinting is how many times the user has copy-pasted. Right? And I assume you would be able to figure out the position of the transparency slider.
Don't love that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so if we were to not use Google Search grounding here, would it generate bogus questions?
Probably. Let's see.
Let's take that quiz.
Yeah. Maybe it'll be based on rumors from pre-dub. Well, we have the content here to.
Well, rumors probably not even, because cutoff for the training data is January.
Anticipated.
All right, let's see what the anticipated rumors. We gotta try one or two.
Okay. Local first AI processing period.
Nexus. Discontinuation of theory.
They would call it next step, right?
Nice. Sick reference.
That's the only one I know how to make.
What one is it? Oh no.
Yeah, which one do they think is the correct answer?
I'm guessing the last one.
Yeah.
No.
I'm guessing the
first one.
Okay.
I don't know what they mean by decentralized, because
it sounds like a word salad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, and this was its reasoning. Local. Yeah. Okay.
Definitely full legacy support for Android applications.
What?
I think this is a great example of.
But they haven't integrated it in Vision OS. Sorry.
One day. It's a good example of where you might need some tools if you want to use some more accurate, up-to-date data.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
So the other ones we have are like Google Search and Google Maps, URL context.
Oh, and code execution.
Yeah, that one's where it's actually able to write and run Python code in the back end.
I got it to play chess with me one time.
Cool. Yeah, it's weird how they actually included chess as one of the or in the list of applications that is in their Python distribution.
Yeah, it's really great if you want to cheat on chess.com.
Oh. haven't actually tried it, but apparently you can even get it to graph things now. So if you give it CSV and then ask, or like data as input, and then ask questions about it.
So what would be the output format of that? Would you get an
I think
SVG?
image.
Oh.
I don't know whether it's a bitmap or SVG. Probably, I'm gonna guess is a bitmap.
Oh, that's pretty cool. Yeah.
We'll have to try it sometime.
Nice. All right. So we've been on for more than an hour now. This is super exciting, and I think I could easily spend the next hour just chatting and exploring. But yeah, I'm curious. What is next? And maybe Ryan, I think you mentioned that this is beta, and obviously, as far as I understand, people won't be able to use this in production applications until iOS 27 and Friends actually roll out to the public. So what's happening in between, and how can people make use of this and maybe even provide feedback?
Great question. A couple different things. You can use that branch that Andrew pointed out earlier. I think it's WWDC 2026 preview, I think.
Or dash preview.
Dash preview, sorry. And try the new APIs out. And those are going to be evolving as the betas evolve. And so we'll be keeping a close eye on that. And aiming to launch at the same time as iOS launches in the fall, and all the other platforms. In the meantime, though, like the functionality is already provided in Firebase AI today in production. It's a GA product, so you can use it and start building these experiences in your application today, and you can ship that publicly. And so we're always looking at adding the latest features of Gemini, and making things more secure as best we can. And so try out the product, provide feedback, file issues on GitHub if you run into anything, and give it a go. There's a lot of really fun and fascinating things we can do when we build generative AI into apps, and we should we'd love to see if you do end up building with Firebase AI Logic. Please share, send it along. We'd love to see what you do with it and some of the unique ways you play around. And did I miss anything, Andrew?
I don't think so. Yeah, if you want to share feedback, our GitHub repo is a great spot too. Even if you don't know the way to, or whether to file it as a bug or a feature request, if you file it, we'll figure out how to put it in the right spot if you can't get it.
Yeah. So here is the repository. So go to github.com/Firebase and then Firebase iOS SDK. And then what is the best way for people to file feedback? Should they just go straight to the issues and file an issue, or do you guys prefer if they come to the discussions forum?
We see it most often in we check the issues most frequently. So that's if you want to get eyes on it quickly, that's probably the fastest way. But I'm also not. If you want to share things like what you've built, that might be a good discussion kind of thing as well. But
yeah. Okay, so show and tell, for example, right? So if people have something they've built and they want to just share it around, then they can do it in the show and tell, and then feedback probably as an issue.
Yeah.
There's also, we mentioned it on pretty much all of our live streams, there's also the Firebase user voice. So if you have a feature request that you want to pitch for Firebase in general, you can go here.
Well, Peter, before you navigate away, is there a feature request that you like to pitch to people?
As a matter of fact, I do. If people want to click on this one here, then that would make me very happy. But until such a point when we will actually convince the PMs that this is a good investment of time. But I'm hopeful that we can make it happen because they implemented support for Dart and to enable full stack development for Dart developers. So I think with Swift growing in popularity, having a full stack solution for Swift would be amazing as well.
I mean, it should be as easy as just, Command F Dart and replace with Swift, and that'll be it, right?
Yep, that's the way.
When you were talking, the screen was showing like C++ or something like that, and I was like, "That's surprising that Peter wants that." But yeah, this makes much more sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, thanks so much for having us. We really appreciate it. It's awesome being on, as always. And 9 AI years from now, we can be back, which is really anywhere between like next week and next year.
Yeah.
When's the app get into the store? And also for me. Yeah, the quiz app.
The quiz app.
I kind of want to do it.
Do it.
No, you gotta send me a link.
Oh, sure. Let me Swift tutorials or something.
Just throw it in Anti-Gravity and say, hey, take this Swift app and
rebuild it for me.
Yeah.
There's actually some. Let me see. I don't know the best way to share this, so I'm gonna send this in our group chat, and you'll have to pass it along for me. But yeah, kudos to the developer at Apple that made this. It's really easy to follow, I think.
Yeah, it looked really fun.
Yeah.
Also,
it may be Sophie's son based on this organization identifier. If you're out there, good job.
Also, I just wanted to call out, somebody mentioned on the live chat that they got a job because of Firebase, and I think that is just amazing. So congrats on that. And definitely let us know how it goes. And if you've got any feedback, now you know where to file it. All right, amazing. That was so much fun, and thanks for coming on again. And we'll definitely have you on again, maybe after September or later in September when this actually goes out to the public and people can ship to the App Store with it, or maybe before, so that we can do a Q&A. Either one works, I think.
Then we'll have time to digest all the new features that they've added too, because there's way more than what we showed here with dynamic profiles.
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah, I want to dig into that as well.
Yeah.
All right. So thanks, Ryan. Thanks, Andrew, for coming on. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in on the stream. And yeah, we'll be back with more stuff. I think the next live stream will be about SQL and SQL Connect, if I'm correct. So that's a pretty exciting topic as well.
So you're saying the sequel will be about SQL?
Exactly. All right, everybody. Thanks for tuning in, and we will see you in the next one.